So today, Nvidia had another little surprise launch for a new GPU. If you guys saw my face in the thumbnail, I'm going to tell you everything wrong with this launch. It's not going to help gamers at all. It's really not meant to help the shortages at all. We're going to talk about why this GPU could indicate a much bigger problem coming next year. So stay tuned and let's get started. To check out our video sponsor, CDK Deals. They're running their best deal of the year in November. Use my code CC20 for 35% off. And yes, those Windows 10 CD keys are also going to work on Windows 11. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Every time you do, Nvidia launches one less of these sort of superfluous GPUs. So let's talk about the surprise launch. I mean, some people knew it was coming today, December 7th. But still a little bit of a surprise. Nvidia didn't seem to issue any type of press release. Even the partners, the AIB partners, really didn't announce anything. Seems to be almost pretty much a paper launch, very non-existent. We're going to talk about all of the issues pertaining to the RTX 2060 12GB. And yes, you heard correctly, 2060. I didn't mess it up and say 2060 instead of 3060. If you're a time traveler, you may be a little bit confused why a 2060 is still coming out in the future. If you were gaming on your 2060 or 2060 Super a few years ago, you traveled through time to 2021, you may think, wow, can't wait to see the next generation of GPUs. I hear it's going to be amazing. And then you see the launch of a 2060. That's going to be even more confusing than the GPU shortage. But alas, that's what Nvidia has done. First, we thought that they're releasing the 2060 12GB version in order to reduce some of the shortage issues that we've been having. Maybe we figured that instead of producing the RTX 3050 or maybe even more 3060s, which is what normally would happen in a regular market, they're sort of going back to the 2060. Maybe on the manufacturing end, it's easier for them to produce that. Maybe it's a different node. Who knows? But that's what we sort of assumed. Well, we kind of assumed wrong because even though we're used to having very little GPUs upon launch, this one seems to be once again sort of non-existent. And if we go by what the YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead said recently, he said basically this GPU is kind of meant for crypto miners, not for gamers. You would have thought that this is an entry-level GPU coming back in order to sort of really help that budget segment in the market. Right now, you basically can't find a GPU at all under $300 or $500. I mean, $300, you're going to get something that's like, a GTX 1030 or something like that. And as you get into the $500 and $600 range, that's when you start to get into the much more overpriced GPUs, like maybe a 6600 XT. Even the 3060, if you catch one at MSRP, will be over $500. Most are going for like $519 to $600. And that's sort of in their third-party AIB MSRP. So while initially we figured that the 2060 12GB coming back was just maybe a stopgap so Nvidia could catch up with production, it really appears it may just be sort of a GPU release that's really meant to go for crypto miners, because something else that we saw, this older GPU seems to have better crypto mining performance than the existing 3060. No word yet if there's going to be any LHR limitation. Doesn't appear that there is, but it seems to be a very efficient GPU that's beating the current generation 3060, so you can expect these to be definitely sold in bulk to crypto miners. After all, crypto miners just care about sort of the hash rate and the efficiency of a GPU. They could care less how it looks like if there's RGB. They could care less, if it's a last generation GPU. As long as they can still get it at a good price, they'll pick that GPU any day of the week over a worse but newer model. For example, if a gamer sees a GPU like a 3060, and even if an old GPU like a 2080 or 2080 Ti was technically better, they may just want to get a new GPU with warranty. They may want to get sort of the new design and be in the new architecture. Now, a crypto miner, I'm not going to care anything about that, but a gamer certainly will. So this 3060 definitely is not targeted at gamers at all. If it was just sort of a stopgap to help with production issues, certainly not going to be that. We've seen almost no sort of real units hit the market yet, supposed to have come out today. And even to add more to this issue, unsurprisingly, Nvidia canceled their Founders Edition literally a few days before this GPU actually launched. Now, their Founders Edition, generally something they're going to produce themselves that they've done in the past, like they do, with the really nice coolers that they have for the 3080, 3060, etc. And then the third-party AIBs will now take control of full production of these GPUs, and we'll see no Founder Edition GPUs. And one really interesting point about Nvidia not having Founder Edition GPUs is the pricing. If we look at any Best Buy drop or any availability of Founder Edition GPUs that come out now, even for the 30 series, you'll see that their price is still the original price of when it launched. That means if you get lucky enough to get a Best Buy drop, 3080 is going to be $699, 3070 $499, 3090 $1499. Those are the original prices, and if they seem low according to today's standards, that's because the third-party AIB pricing is out of control. For example, instead of $699 for a 3080, you're more likely to be well over $1,000, sometimes as high as $1,200 or $1,300 just for a 3080 if you go by pricing of AIB partners. So Nvidia probably figured, why are they going to release a Founders Edition where they're going to be stuck with that MSRP? They'd rather just sell the GPU itself to third-party AIBs who can crank up the price as much as they want, and they have cranked up the price as much as they want during the last year. So that way they can probably sell it more expensively to the AIB, and if something happens where the market continues to go up, Nvidia can simply raise prices of the silicon that they sell to the third-party partners without ever appearing that they themselves are raising prices, because then the ones at the forefront will be the third-party AIBs with their raised prices like MSI or Asus, etc. That's all going to be pretty much behind the scenes, so it makes sense they don't want to sell a Founders Edition and really not have anything to do with that, even though traditionally that's what they do for these type of GPUs. So very interesting to see what's going on with this GPU. We'll see if it ever even comes in stock here or there. So certainly this is yet another disappointing GPU release, because first, it's really old technology. 12 gigabytes of VRAM does absolutely nothing for a 2060. And yeah, even if you look at it from a crypto mining perspective, sure, it does okay. It's pretty efficient, but it's not really blazing any technological trails at all. And it sure doesn't seem to be helping any issues with the manufacturing and shortage issues, because we just haven't seen any upon launch, just like the other hard to get GPUs. So really, what's even the purpose of this GPU? It would only make sense for crypto miners. Maybe at one point, if Nvidia can make bulk, of this GPU, then they could sell them by the pallet full and sort of have an explanation of why they're selling still a 2060 with 12 gigabytes of VRAM. So that's maybe why they even put 12 gigabytes of VRAM on it, just so they can justify releasing this GPU years after it was already released. So at least they put a little something on it. And if early reports from different places like in Europe are any indication, the MSRP pricing, at least of the third-party AIB models of the few GPUs that have hit the market or at least been listed, have been very, very high. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's as high as just getting an RTX 3060. So this is definitely a GPU meant to quell shortage issues, but on the crypto miner side, if they can, really produce enough of these, it's really going to do absolutely nothing for gamers. Gamers are going to continue to have to fight over different drops or whatever may be available at the time of the 30 series GPU, or maybe just look on the used market for an actual 2060 from when it came out. You may be better off buying something like that rather than these newer GPUs that really aren't doing anything to move the technology forward. So in summary, the release of the RTX 2060 12GB, very confusing release, doesn't seem to really help the situation at all. If anything, it just kind of seems like Nvidia is throwing out an old GPU if they can't keep up with, manufacturing issues of the current generation. So unless it's something they're going to be able to produce in really massive volume, which we haven't seen so far, third-party AIB seem pretty quiet in regards to this GPU. we really don't know the purpose yet. We're going to have to wait a few weeks, but I don't think the prognosis is very good at all. And perhaps this doesn't really bode too well in the direction that GPUs will go for 2022. Recently, Nvidia has said that perhaps by the second half, some shortage issues should be a lot better. They would know if they're ramping up production or they can see the demand, but demand in the market can change and surprise them very quickly, as it did with the initial RTX 3080 launch. So who really knows what's going to happen? If they knew, they definitely would have, ramped up production even earlier. So we'll see what happens, but 2022, at least the first half, looks like it's still going to be a very tough year if you're trying to get a GPU for gaming. Alright guys, so let me know what you think down below. Is this just basically a crypto mining card in disguise and has nothing to do with sort of the gaming market? Let me know what you think. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.